high as possible. Some people call it a jump. I mix back and forth. It's a jump or it's just proper use of the ground, where I feel because they're loading so much that their inertia gets them going upwards. So we're going to get the box over here. I'm going to have you do a couple of these. So when I do this as well, it helps, for me, it helps the player land forward inside the court. I believe it's going to, it's going to force them to kind of land inside the court as well as going upwards. So, and one key factor that I want to mention is, if while you're doing this, think of your chest going up in that direction when you serve. Does that make sense? So again, think of your chest going on an angle upwards that way. So when you load in that trophy position, it goes this way through the impact. Make sense? Go ahead, do a couple of shadows. Not bad. Again.
We're going to talk now about how you're going to start your serve, the position that you're going to get into as you begin your service motion. You're going to be bouncing the ball, getting ready, thinking about which serve, where you're hitting your serve, and the type of point you want to play. Then when you're ready to go, you're going to bring that racket up to eye level. Okay, so the middle of the strings is basically right at eye level. Your racket face will be turned in towards you where the hitting side of the racket is facing you. The reason I like to see that, the reason you're high, is to let gravity help you out with your motion. If you do it right, you're going to feel that there's very little effort required. Your arm in the racket will literally levitate up without you putting any effort into it. When you end up here, because your racket was turned in, you're now in this position as opposed to this position. Why I think that's important, a lot of errors are made when players come up too straight here and they end up opening up that racket face a bit and ending up hitting the ball with an open racket face. It's going to go long on them. So by having the racket here, getting up to here, you're going to eliminate that issue. Assad will now demonstrate that for us.
When Andy first came on tour, John McEnroe actually made a comment. He's like, well, that serve's not going to last too long. He's like that, he's going to get injured. And that would be a completely normal observation. It's not like John was being ignorant. It's like that. It looks like he's muscling the ball. There's actually very little muscle in the ball involved in the serve. And John Roddick, actually, when I think Andy actually beat Sampras at Miami and actually maybe hit Sampras with a serve or something like that. And John actually called me afterward and he goes, yep, we know where that serve came from. So it's quite interesting. So when Andy was young, when he was going through a full motion, he had a hard time knowing where the racket was. Like, I would tell him to stop and I'd say, where's your racket pointing? And he would generally have it a little bit wrong. So he had a hard time knowing, like sometimes you'd think the racket had up and it was actually down, or sometimes it would be down and he'd say it would be down and be up. So he had a hard time with this. So I spent the same thing as I dropped him balls and he worked on the racket head speed every single day. We also served half motion every single day.
And I'm a big believer on the basic, the fundamentals. So what I'm looking is, first, from the biomechanic standpoint, I'm looking at the four sources of energy and how the players connect that kinetic chain. So what are the four sources of energy? So forehand, backhand, serve are the same. The first one is the legs, how much they push the ground and how efficient are they pushing the ground. The second, after we get this one, the rotation. A good uniturn, how much energy that we can get from that rotation. And then the arm and the swing pad, and we finish with the nice wrist. So all those four sources give me extra energy, and we have to connect it right away. So.
But still, we've got the journey of the young athlete in mind. And although they're big guys, strong guys now, the rotator cuff is still, still quite weak and still needs developing and still needs strengthening. There's lots of stories of players saying, right, that's the serve, now let's get out there and hit it for 2 hours. A nice sort of number and a nice way of operating with the serve at this age is to spread the serving out throughout the session. So typically coaches might say, right, now let's do some serving, and then you get into it and sort of half an hour, 40 minutes later, you know, you've hit about 100 serves and the arm is about to drop off. The best way to do this, and especially with performance players, because they're not serving all the time, when do they ever hit that many serves in a row? They don't hit that many serves. So we just spread the serving out throughout the session. So you can stop what you're doing. Most of the time they're going to be running, hitting ground strokes, offense, defense, neutral. And then we can say, okay, let's do another 5 minutes of serving. And so typically throughout a session, the guys won't hit really many more than sort of 50 serves. 50 serve is a good number. But what I would ask...
For example, I was working with Daniel Galan a little bit at IMG and just looking at his serve. And Daniel, I mean, he brings his right foot over here. And at the beginning, I'm watching him serve and I'm like, ooh, I think I can help you with, you know, a small correction that's going to help your kick serve. And he said, well, actually, my kick serve is kind of my best serve. So I said, well, let me take a look at you hitting some serves. And unbelievable kick serve, which as I'm watching him hit more and more of them, I was like, even though technically the right thing to do and the best thing to do for a kick serve is to have your foot here, he's hitting them perfect. So do I need to make this change? And ultimately I was like, I'm not touching that part of his game because he's doing it well.